Hey everyone, welcome back to this month's subscription box. This month we're doing the Cosmic Ring. This one should be a lot of fun. Let's go over some of the extras I've got. First, safety gear, face shield, that'll keep anything from hitting me in the face. Then a dust mask, you don't want to inhale anything, that's always bad. Then a Dremel of some sort, whether it's a Fordham or a Dremel, just with some sanding gear on that. We also want some sandpaper for the finishing steps, obviously. And then Astrotech CA adhesive. I've got all three viscosities. They should come in handy to especially have medium and super thin. And then I've only got one of my Astrotech polishes. I'll explain why in a minute. But for now, we've just got the all-in-one. If you're only gonna have one polish, this is the one that you want. Step 2, all-in-one. And then, of course, we've got the box. Let's go ahead and open this up, see what's inside. All right, let's see what we've got. Open it up. First, you'll probably notice this. This is our diamond paste. This is a new product that we finally released. I'm really excited about this. If you've worked with tungsten, which is the ring blank we've got for this subscription box, or ceramic or any other really hard material, you'll notice that it's very, very difficult to polish them because they're just too hard. Well, this polish is based off diamond powders, so it's actually extremely effective at doing that. So we'll get into that a little bit more in a second. And then we've just got the box itself. So let's open this up. Nice, plenty to go over here. So, glow powder, this is going to be the base of the inlay. This is white glow powder during the day, white glow at night. This is one of my favorite glows. It gives you just a really nice, clean, simple result. So we've got that, and then here, this is the Sonic Gray Opal. Looks amazing. It's a little more subtle. We've got colors that are a lot more vibrant and punchy in terms of the color they give off, but I wanna go with a lighter theme for this ring. So we specifically selected this for that. Should be nice. And then here we've got fluorite. You can see it's got kind of a greenish purple tint to it, but other than that, it's very subtle, almost clear. This is gonna be great for this ring. It's gonna give it a lot of depth, just kind of a really cool look. So I'm excited to use that. And then here we've got the blank, the whole structure of the ring. One of the most important pieces. This is tungsten. Tungsten is awesome to work with. Again, the only kind of downfall with it is it's so hard to polish. I'm trying to solve that this month. So that's great. And then finally, we've got iridescent purple Astrodust pigment. So this will be really nice. It'll add just a very, very subtle purple hue to the white powder. So you can choose to add this if you want. You don't need to. Same with anything else in here. So we really encourage you guys to get creative, make the design that you would like. So sometimes we kind of include a bit much, sometimes a little, like less is more, like maybe just these three materials together would make for the perfect ring. But we don't want to skimp out on you guys, and we want to give you lots of options. So we include stuff, but that doesn't mean you have to use it. You can save it for a future product if you want. Also, one thing I quickly want to note with iridescent powders is when you use them on an inlay, kind of how you typically would with a glowstone ring, it can be very subtle and like almost impossible to see unless you're in like direct sunlight where you can see kind of the purple that it gives off. But you'll notice, look how colorful that is. When you spread it differently in certain applications, you can get it to really, really show up nicely. So you can see it's on this nice black background here, and it's just pure iridescence. So here's a suggestion. Maybe make a ring that's completely black on the inlay. Sand the inlay down just a little bit so that it's below the edges of the tungsten, and then put just kind of a smear of the purple all around it. That can make for some really cool results. Obviously you can tweak your techniques and do 1,000 different things. That'd be really cool. Also where this is really works nice is with resins. So here's our Astrotech epoxy. If you do just clear, just straight epoxy with a little bit of the iridescence, that's where it will really, really show up kind of like crazy and give it that cool, amazing purple color shift. And you can also add other additives to the resin, whether it's a dye or anything else. So anyways, that's a really long-winded explanation of how this works. It's just a very subtle product, and the way that you apply it will kind of change everything. So that's why we're really kind of wanting to send a lot of these lately, is so you guys can get familiar with them, get to know the material, and get to know how to use it. So anyways, that is an overview of everything. Let's maybe open up the diamond paste. These bags didn't fit all 5 of them together, so This month we're sending them in 2 bags. In the future, they should be all together. So this is how it works. With a lot of things like sandpaper, the higher the number, the finer it is. But that's not the case with diamond paste, because it is literally just the diameter of the diamond particles in it. So this is the coarsest of the diamond paste. So the diamonds that are in the paste are 30 to 40 microns in diameter. So quite coarse, relatively speaking. Obviously 30 microns is still tiny, but this is where you're going to remove most of the scratches. Then we have 10 to 20 micron, about half the size there. Then it comes down to 4 to 6. And at this point, you're gonna be left with such a fine polish that you really won't see too much of a difference without a microscope on the next steps. But these do make a difference. 1 micron here, 0.25 microns here. So incredibly small particles that are in here. This will allow you to get a finish that just goes above and beyond anything else. So you don't have to use these on hard materials. If you want to use all 3 of the Astrotech polishes on, let's say, titanium, and then you use all 5 of these, that's where you can get that extreme perfectionist level of polish. I personally don't do that very often, at least, but if you're someone who really gets particular with things, this could be a great option for that. In general, for my use, I mostly just like to use it when no other polish can be used effectively. So that is why they're super important to have. Other than that, it's just like that kind of nice cherry on top to take your rings to the next level. Anyways, that was kind of a lot, I know, but I think that is kind of important, the biggest changes to this one. If you have any other questions along the way, I'm gonna go over a lot of the steps that I'm doing, but in future subscription box videos, like the first 5 episodes, we went really in depth on a lot of general overview of just inlaid ring making in general. So if you have any questions on that and you can't get a response in our Facebook group, which you always, I don't think I've ever heard someone not get a response, but let's say you can't figure something out, go back to the first episodes. We should have a lot more info there. In these current episodes, again, I just kind of go into the new stuff, the specific stuff. So these are the only 2 things that I'm gonna go really crazy about. Other than that, both of these inlay ingredients are ready to go. I don't need to crush them down to size. Here's the first step. So I'm just gonna take the white glow powder here. Just gonna section out just a little bit in case I have this fall over or spill. I don't wanna lose all of my powder. So I'm just gonna section out enough for a ring. I've still got like 3/4 of the powder remaining. I'll just set that aside. I'm gonna put a healthy amount of iridescence in here because, like I was saying, it's a very subtle color. So you can see that's just kind of as much as I could fit on this little scupula here. So I'll go ahead, dump that in here, and I'll even, why not? I might be impeding the effectiveness of the glow at this point, but I really want to do my best to make the iridescence show on this one. So I'm gonna go a little bit overboard with that. Shake that up. We should be able to see it on the vial when I'm done here. Yeah, it's quite subtle because not much is sticking to the plastic. There's a little bit of a purple hue that's stuck to the inside of the vial if you get it at the right angle. So that's kind of cool. Everything else I think is ready to go. So the fluorite, like I was saying, I'm gonna use this to add depth to the ring. These are see-through, so it's really cool. Kind of similar to like a really nice granite countertop will have like some clear quartz and other like crystals in there. That gives it such an amazing, cool look. That's why it's really hard to fake real granite. And that's why they look so good. So this just really kind of helps sell the natural look of the inlay. It just makes it a lot more interesting. It makes it so when you view the ring from different angles, it looks a little bit different. So I just need to make sure to leave plenty of room for the opal. I know this has been a very long chat that we've just had, but this has set us up to be ready to go to make a really nice ring. Everything else is just gonna be really straightforward from here. I'll just start inlaying both of these. I think I'm just gonna kind of fill the whole inlay channel with opal. Just kind of put glue on the inside and just go ahead and dump them in. Same thing with the fluorite here. So not a lot of technique to worry about as far as inlay goes. sprinkle in the glow powder in the cracks, harden it as I go, repeat the process, layer it up, and then once it's built up high enough, I'll start grinding it back down and we'll move on to some of the polishing steps. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, I've got my mandrel ready to go. I'm using my large mandrel for this. I believe it's a size 10 ring. Should fit on the second one, yep. Go ahead and tighten that on there, make sure it's turning straight. Perfect. All right, I've got my mandrel ready to go. I'm using my large mandrel for this. I believe it's a size 10 ring. Should fit on the second one, yep. Go ahead and tighten that on there, make sure it's turning straight. Perfect. So I've got my medium CA glue ready to go. I'll put a thin layer across the entire bottom of the inlay. Just like that. This is the Sonic Gray Opal. I'm literally just going to kind of dump the inlay materials into the inlay channel rather than hand place each and every piece. You can see we always try to send more than plenty. That should be enough to make 3, 4, maybe even 5 rings. Especially the opal, there's a lot of that. We sell it by weight. Opal isn't very dense, so it's a really good value per gram because of that fact. All right, I've got my layer of opal down. You'll notice that I was using my tweezers and I was removing some pieces. I filled in the whole inlay and I filled in, there's still probably about 3/4 of it filled in, but I went in and took some of the pieces out. That way I've got room for the fluorite here in a sec. But because the fluorite is clear, I don't want you to be able to see through the clear fluorite and down on the reflective tungsten underneath. So if you want to make your rings like that, that's totally fine, but in general I try to avoid that. So what I like to do is take a quick layer, just a thin layer of glow powder and add that at this point. We don't need to worry about that because the opal is opaque for the opal, but it does make a difference for the fluorite. So when you see through the piece of fluorite, I want to see glow powder beneath it, not metal beneath it. There we go. Now we're ready to move on to the fluorite. All I need to do here, I'll put down a little bit more medium glue, kind of targeting the areas where I want the fluorite to stick. There's no need getting it on the opal. Okay, just like last time, hold the jar over and just gently sprinkle pieces in. So from here on out, it's just gonna be the glow powder. So I'm gonna give this a few minutes, probably 5 minutes plus maybe a little bit of time with the heat gun to fully solidify and get all of the accelerator off there, because if I put glue down now, it's just gonna instantly harden. So I'll let that evaporate off of there, and then I'll do maybe 2, maybe even 3 layers of the white glow powder. Get that to the inlay is above the brim of the tungsten. Then we'll get started on the shaving down of the ring. All right, I'm ready to start sanding down. I've got my Dremel here with a rough bit, some backups. Then we'll switch to our sandpaper when we're done with that. The opal and the fluorite, neither of them are very hard, so we shouldn't have many problems, if any, getting this sanded down flush. So it should be fairly straightforward. I'm usually really careful with tungsten not to scratch it because normally it's really hard to get the scratches out. But this time, because we've got the diamond paste and because I want to demo it, I might actually purposely scratch it up quite a bit, just so that we can see kind of a before and after of what's possible with the diamond paste. So I'll go ahead and do that now, and then I'll also get it sanded up, and then I'll do a first round of polish. So all I'm going to use this time is the all-in-one polish. This is the step 2. I could use step 1, 2, and 3, but because I'm also using the diamond paste, it shouldn't be necessary. And I also just want to show that it's possible. That's why this is called the all-in-one. If you just have the budget for one of the polishes, I'd say go for the step 2. It's a really awesome all-in-one. It can still do a really good job of removing scratches like the rough step 1 can, but it also leaves a very nice finish, almost as good as the step 3 can. So this is the perfect go-to in my opinion. Anyways, let's go ahead, sand this down, get it polished up, and I'll check back in with you when we're ready for the diamond paste. All right, the ring is at the point where it would regularly be finished. Take a look at the finish here on the tungsten. There's no residue here, there's no excess polish. I've cleaned this completely. What you see here, just on this top surface, because I didn't do any sanding on the bevel, so that's a really good kind of contrast to before and after that you can compare it to. That is just those small scratches that are left over from the Dremel. And it just really kind of dulls the overall shine of the ring. You could really have the ring pop a lot better if those were a lot shinier. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go through with the diamond paste. We're going to give these a nice polish. So I'm going to start with the grittiest of them all. This is 30 to 40 microns. This should do a really good job of getting rid of any of those larger scratches. This is the roughest grit that we've got here. So to do that, I've just got a little lens wipe here. You don't need much, but I would say that this is the most important step where you want to be as thorough as possible, the 30 to 40. This is where you're going to get the biggest difference in results. And after this step, 30 to 40 microns is fine enough that it's going to leave the whole thing impressively shiny for that. So everything we do after this step is just to get a little bit extra shine out of it. So let's go ahead and do that now. You don't need much. Just going to put a bead all around the ring like that. And you want to work it in. One thing to note with polishes, materials, if they turn black, that means that they're removing particles, and the particles themselves are turning the polish black. So you'll notice if you were just to take a tungsten blank without an inlay or without a mandrel here and used Astrotech polish or any other polish really for that matter, it wouldn't change colors because it wouldn't be doing anything. But the diamond, it's going to be able to remove some of the tungsten, and you'll actually see. I'm not going to move my hands right now because I want to demonstrate just a little bit. So look at that. See those two black stripes there? That's exactly where the tungsten was, right there, just like that. So that black you see, that's tungsten particles coming off into the polish and then being left on the tissue here. So that just means that it's working. That means that the diamond, unlike anything else, is actually effective at polishing the tungsten. So I'm going to really thoroughly work this in, and I'll probably even do a second application of the 30 to 40 micron because again, this is the most important step to get right. All right, check this out. Look how much better it's looking already. So much more shine coming off those roughed up edges. So really happy with that. Now I'm ready to go ahead and move on to the next step, which is the 10 to 20 micron step. But one thing to be careful about is every time you switch between grits, you got to be very thorough of getting rid of any excess polish, because if I've got a bunch of residual 30 to 40 micron paste all over this ring here, and I go and I add the 10 to 20, I'm going to have 30 to 40 micron particle sized diamonds floating around in this, which will be causing it to scratch it just like the 30 to 40 would. Essentially, we're just wasting our time with this because we're not able to get any finer because these particles from the 30 to 40 are just holding us back at that same polish level. So make sure to clean it in between each time. I like to use just a little bit of water. And you can use, I don't use rags ever while the lathe is spinning because they can get caught in the lathe and get flung in there. So that's why I'm always using like tissues or paper towel. But if you keep the lathe off, you can use this cloth to get all the excess off. So now I've got all the excess polish off, ready to go ahead, pull out the 10 to 20 micron. And again, just put a little bead. I'm gonna use a little bit less this time because I find that the finer the paste is, the less polish that you really end up needing. And I'm only going to apply this once. Okay, let's go for it. All right, here it is, completely finished. Maybe the editor can add a before and after shot of when I was doing the close-up before we did the diamond paste. Now, that difference is incredible. It's seriously, especially, this is very zoomed in. If I come back a little bit, it's just a mirror, it's insane. Hopefully this shows up nicely on camera. I'm gonna take this off the mandrel, clean it up, and then show some better footage just in my hands, and I can manipulate it a little bit better. But I wanted to give you guys as close to an apples to apples comparison as I could. Same lighting, same angle, same mandrel, everything. You can see just how much better that looks. So we're left with a ring that really does look amazing. I love the way that this one turned out. Anyways, before we get into that, I'm gonna go ahead, take this off, then we can talk about our final thoughts. All right, here it is finished, guys. This turned out so awesome. That finish is so reflective, it's insane. So you can see it's got such an awesome just amount of vibrance, color that the opal gives us, but it's still fairly subtle overall. Then you'll notice the way the fluorite played out, very subtle, can barely even notice that it's there. It's not detracting from the glow really in any way, but it just gives it a really interesting look of depth and just kind of really sells the natural look. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in again this month. This project was a lot of fun. If you have any questions, please join our Facebook group. Myself and everyone else in the group loves giving their input and advice on things. It's such an awesome community there. So anyways, guys, thank you for watching. See you next month.